Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining our webinar titled Key Considerations in Quality Tool Modernization. This is a joint webinar held together by OpsHub and Intland software. This is a webinar with a Q&A session following the presentation. The webinar is being recorded and we will send all of you a link to the recording after the session. Feel free to post any questions during the presentation using this designated questions function on the bottom of your screen, and we will answer all questions individually during the Q&A session. My name is Márton Csorba. I will be your presenter today on behalf of Intland Software. I'm a business analyst here at Intland Software. I'm responsible for taking care of customers' process needs and trying to create a system which would work in the safety critical industry, where they can organize their requirements and testing processes accordingly to the different standards.
And my name is Mark Schultz. I'm Vice President of Sales at OpsHub, and we are partners with Intland, and very much look forward to a productive session today. My background is in digital transformations, people scaling agile platforms, as well as legacy ERP modernization. So look forward to a good conversation.
Thanks, Mark. I would like to have some words about Intland as a beginner. So our core focus is in the ALM area, so application lifecycle management, but our solutions are deployed to manage several other processes as well. It is used by numerous leading companies with different sizes, from small startups, from small companies to large multinational companies, coming from multiple industries, but especially where safety critical applications are needed, such as automotive, aviation, or let's say medtech. In general, we do help our customers to manage their innovative, complex engineering processes.
Yeah, from an OpsHub perspective, OpsHub is an industry leader in both integration and migration solutions, where traceability is critical, just like in the industries that Intland serves, to ensure that you have collaboration across teams that are using perhaps agile processes combined with traditional processes, and ensuring that you have full governance of that information to modernize systems, to be able to migrate to a modern platform like Intland's Codebeamer, or integrate Intland Codebeamer with other solutions as people evolve in their journey. So we really appreciate being able to talk about these items today. Thanks.
All right, let me start the presentation. Let me share my screen. Just a second, and it should be visible to you. And we can see it now. Good. So I would like to start with the agenda first. We would check on the current IT landscape and why there is a need for tool modernization in general. After that, we would take a look into the tool selection process, and also we would take a look at then on the whole journey, what it takes to do the tool modernization inside an organization. All right, so let me start with a quote. So in 2005, Ray Ozzie, Microsoft CTO at that time, wrote an internal memo where he said that complexity kills. It sucks the life out of developers. It makes products difficult to plan, build, and test, and it introduces security challenges, and it causes user and administrator frustration. So based on that, you can't help but wonder that what is the situation today? In today's fast-paced IT environment, software complexity has reached a level that we have never seen before in any of the industries. So this growing complexity puts tremendous pressure on people who sit on basically on both sides of the product development fee model. And when it comes to verification and validation, you have to make sure that you choose the right tools and methodologies to cover all your QA efforts. When it comes to releases, customers don't just want more, they also want it more often as well, and in the highest quality. So software teams need to be on the top of their game, really, as errors and bugs in production can get more spotlight than ever. Also, with new trends and tech, such as, for example, software over-the-air updates in vehicles, the software on ECUs can be updated anytime. That means that new functions and bug fixes can land in the customer's hands more quickly and more often. Also, worth mentioning the buzzword of the 21st century in software development, agile development and testing. So you have to keep up with all the previously mentioned challenges while working in an iterative and incremental development cycle. These promise a product that better satisfies user requirements, but also are much more complex to manage than traditional waterfall-based development processes. To all these challenges, add that there are dozens of available tools out there where users can manage all of their software quality assurance processes, and each of these tools are slightly different, serving different purposes, managing data differently, and offering also really different user interfaces and different user experiences. So, all of this means that much like QA and testing processes, quality assurance tools also have to evolve to keep up with these new challenges. So modern QA tools need to accommodate agile and DevOps processes, ensuring the highest quality in an accelerating environment. Not only do teams have to establish set quality standards, they also need to work according to those standards. Also, permission control is becoming a crucial QA capability, enabling specific user roles to execute certain tasks, such as approving test runs or reviewing test cases, or really just to coordinate and manage test suites in general. There needs to be a shift towards continuous quality control as well, rather than just sticking a simple testing sub-process at the end of each development cycle. Risk management also needs to be continuously integrated into the process of development and QA as well. Also, data security and supporting a DevSecOps approach are becoming more important than ever before. So all of these factors are adding up, they are challenging, so it really takes a lot to choose your QA tools the right way. All right, some words about the legacy tool challenges. So it's clear that today the digital environment requires pretty much future-proof tools. The systems that have been in place for years may have been great in supporting all the previously used software testing processes, but more and more teams are finding that legacy systems are not quite suitable for today's needs, let alone the requirements of tomorrow's and the future's software QA processes. So the heritage tools can lack up-to-date support and can have a variety of limitations, meaning a lack of flexibility for software teams. Some QA tools can support agile. In other cases, they can make it hard to establish traceability, as custom integrations may be needed to be compatible with different test environments as well. And this tool friction can put big pressure on teams and may make it difficult to discover issues early. So this data siloization means an issue, but so does the manual creation of integrations between the tools. And this can contribute to high maintenance costs and high maintenance efforts as well. Another area where legacy tools fall short is the accurate management and tracking of changes in QA assets. They can also limit efficient reuse, raising the costs of managing QA for multiple product variants. And also the differences in UI can mean increased training costs to be able to understand and very well use all the different systems. So overall, as the experiences of more and more software teams suggest, an outdated tool environment can be a significant inhibitor of maturity in your software quality assurance. So how to choose the right quality tool? However hard it may be to convince teams to switch tools and to get the management approved and management buy-in for the investment, that's only part of the work done. So choosing the right QA tool or suite to use is a challenge in and of itself. So let's cover some of the most important considerations when it comes to selecting these QA tools. To help create a unified environment, it's best if the QA tool of choice also integrates requirements, risk management, and software testing support. So users shouldn't have to move out of the QA tool to check on connected requirements or risks. In a unified environment, traceability is always provided. It's always there within a single tool that offers access to data for all stakeholders. So it can save tons of time and complexity when it comes to tool maintenance or simply time during testing. If all these are housed in one platform, that means a significant advantage over the siloed approach. Also, when selecting a new tool, you should look for an open architecture. Whenever a team or an organization is looking for a new QA management tool, in my opinion, the most important topic is how it can be integrated with different test environments and other tools. For example, when testing let's say a single ADAS function during vehicle test, teams can easily use at least 3 environments, starting from software in the loop to hardware in the loop systems with different complexity based on the added ECUs to finish up with a real prototype vehicle. This requires compatibility with different pieces of test environment software which need to be working with a test management system. Furthermore, these integration points with the best-of-breed tools will ensure that your QA teams can continue using the highest performing tools without creating data gaps. It's also important to consider the agile capabilities. So even if your software team currently doesn't run an agile shop, it's very possible that they will make the transition sometime in the future. So once again, a future-proof QA tool will support both classical and agile methods as well. And finally, look for deployment models that suit your needs. So there is no silver bullet solution to deployment options. In some environments, SaaS tools work best, while in others, an on-premise solution is needed. Define your needs, both current and future, and look for a tool that allows flexibility around those needs. And my next slide is pretty much summing it up that I previously said. So what are the pros and cons of best-of-breed and integrated solutions? If we are talking about the pros of best-of-breed systems, a flexible tool, support to suit the needs of all teams. It can be less expensive. It can be very spot on to do that task, to support that environment that you are working in. The cons can be fragmented data across the tools. This is what I mentioned, that the lack of integration and also the effort to do the manual integration can be pretty high. Also, if you have several of these tools, the higher training costs can adding up for new entrants. If you are talking about integrated tools, the pros can be that it's an all-in-one feature coverage across the life cycle. So coming from your requirements, from requirement design down to test management, to risk management, also to product management, to project management, it's the whole life cycle is covered in one tool. And this can save you a lot of time. Also, pros can be the out-of-the-box connections to third-party tools, support and consulting available through the whole life cycle, to your whole product development life cycle. It can be standardized for large teams as well. The cons, it can have a high upfront cost, of course. One more point around cost is that if the team keep their best-of-breed tools, these costs can add up. And also that it's a long-term commitment usually, so maybe that would not be suitable for every organization. All right, and now I would like to hand over to Mark, who will share us that how this modernization journey looks in more detail. And over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Martin. I think you can see my screen now, can you?
Yes, I can see it.
Great. Yeah, so tool selection, finding the right modern platform like Intland Codebeamer solution set to bring an integrated approach for requirements, software management, full testing that allows the traceability is key. We're going to talk about tool adoption and tool evolution in a moment, but we thought it would make sense to go ahead and share a case study, a journey of an organization that's going through this process of modernizing their quality management solutions. Working with an organization in a high-tech environment, data services and storage systems, this organization was using a legacy solution to handle their quality management, their testing, their test management. They realized that they needed to improve their collaboration and traceability and went through a selection process, like Martin described, to figure out what they wanted. And they wanted to move to that new tool. So then the decision is, how do I get the history and the traceability that I need from the existing environment to my modern environment? In this case, the organization looked at different options for migration and historical data fidelity and chose to work with OpsHub to help move that data and information to the modern tool like a Codebeamer. The result of the effort was that the client was able to get to their modern agile quality management solution. They were able to migrate both development and testing to get to that integrated and collaborative environment, a best-of-breed combination in a consolidated framework like a Codebeamer. And it was very much a high-scale migration as well. 800 projects, 1.3 million artifacts, historical credibility over 8 years were migrated. It was phased over a span of 4 months, so teams that were ready to move could move first. Other teams came after. And probably the best element of the migration and effort to get to the modern platform was the fact that not only was the data high fidelity, being able to get all the artifacts and attachments and comments and those key factors, but they had zero downtime during the migration, which allowed productivity and value delivery to happen in the legacy tool while the migration happened to the modern tool. And they were able to stagger their rollout. So there's no compromise in allowing teams to use the source and target systems during the migration, and even data that was getting updated in the source system, the legacy system, was able to be moved over at the end of that migration. So it's an example of it can happen to be able to get you to a modern platform from a legacy platform. So Martin kind of shared the tool selection process and the options that are involved. What we're going to talk about now is tool adoption and tool evolution. What is the right approach that you should take when you're looking at this new environment? Which approach helps you ensure that you're going to continue to have productivity and deliver value while that effort goes on, and then how we evolve the solution incrementally so you're continue to add value and you're addressing the key needs of organizations. So let's go first here and talk about the adoption strategy. So when people consider how they're going to adopt solutions, they think about costs, upfront versus hidden costs, and many times it's the kind of the iceberg principle here. People look at, okay, how much does the modern tool cost? What's it going to take for me to implement, migrate to that solution, and then get productive? As you can see below the waterline, there is a lot of other costs, the hidden costs that need to be considered around the areas of disruption, transformation, from both the people and data standpoint, and being able to continue your visibility and collaboration. What I think is super important here is that organizations need to think about the people and the process change that is going to go on, and understand your organizational readiness across the different areas that are going to benefit from the modern tool. And if we keep our focus on the business objectives and business outcomes that people and the organization desire, it'll allow us to prioritize and ensure that value delivery happens during the adoption phases of a new solution and a modernization effort. So a couple of elements here when people are modernizing as far as strategies. Do I do a full replace? Do I replace my legacy tool with a new tool and be able to go from just one environment to a new environment? It's kind of easy to say that, we're modernizing on a new platform like Codebeamer, but it's not necessarily easy to do because of the disruption, the people change, sometimes the resistance that goes on, and the fact that people need to appreciate and understand the capabilities of a modern tool like a Codebeamer. So sometimes then you need to coexist with existing systems during this modernization effort. And this is important when there is relevance of the legacy system. There's maybe particular parts of the organization that are not ready to move, so they need more time to make that move to the modern platform and to work with the approaches that are digestible or acceptable to the different teams. So when we look at that coexist approach with legacy tools, this is when there is maybe a high compliance needs and there is value in the legacy systems that needs to be retained or utilized, or maybe there are parts of the organization that needs to stay there. But we need to be able to have the organization departments and teams that might be in the legacy and modern system still provide value delivery, development outputs effectively. And when that's the case, then being able to have synchronization between the legacy and modern tools is an approach that is possible. So you can have in the tool of choice, the people that are in the modern tool, say in Codebeamer, can be already working in Codebeamer and having productivity, but still have traceability and understanding of the information that's happening in the legacy system, and have that information be known and have that systematic knowledge be shared. So when we're looking at tool replacement approaches itself, it's very important to think about the disruption factor on value delivery. So people who take maybe a cap and grow approach or a big bang approach, they need to consider what is going to be the potential people and data disruption that happens during that time. For example, if an organization says, I'm going to, okay, let's move everybody at one time in a big bang approach, what is going to be the downtime to maybe export and import information from one system to another? What are the risks associated with that? Will there be a loss of information while I am doing this effort, how much time is going to be lost on being able to do the development delivery, the testing efforts, and the quality assurance efforts as well. An approach that we're seeing that is the current trend and maybe the leading practice of sorts is being able to take an agile incremental approach to modernization. So the benefits of this agile incremental approach include a non-disruptive migration with zero system downtime and zero productivity loss, like the example we shared in the case study. It also allows a high fidelity movement of data and information, so you have that traceability, and the knowledge of what worked in the old system, legacy system, is now transformed in the new ways and new models of the modern system. And because there is technology available to take more of a factory approach instead of a manual or auto-manual combination of scripting and exporting and importing, you can ensure that you can move tremendous amounts of information at scale and have that information be accurate and validated in the modernization process. So how to select the best approach? A, consider the right strategy. Do you want to replace or coexist? Or it might be an evolution of that. And then make sure you're factoring in the hidden costs that leads to the challenges of the budget and disruption to the organization. Now let's talk about the evolution strategy for tools. You've selected a tool. You're now rolling it out. How do I make the best use and gain the full benefit of the solution? How do I optimize this? Many times organizations think, we're ready. Let's go to the new tool. And they're a little bit overly optimistic. So certainly consider, are you prepared from a skills perspective? Are you prepared from a scaling strategy and supports perspective for the new tooling? Are we going to still ensure the compliance, especially in these industries that require the high traceability and governance? Go into the new tool. Does it provide all of those capabilities? And do I have an approach that works for organization as we evolve to the new ways of working? And then, of course, review and refine overall. So what we also recommend, just like an agile migration, is to be able to take an agile tool evolution approach. It's important to, number one, prioritize and focus on value delivery. How do I ensure productivity with this new solution? And when I say productivity, are we getting the outputs? Are we meeting our releases? Are the releases of high quality? Are we taking advantage of the capabilities of the modern tool that gives us the collaboration that we want? So you prioritize on value delivery, but then you continue to, as it says, it's experiment, learn, and evolve. It's an inspect and an adapt approach of an agile rollout at scale for an organization holistically. So key takeaways. So quality tool modernization is a business imperative. You need it in order to stay competitive. You need modern tooling to attract and retain the best and the brightest and top performers that are out there. Consider the impact of modernization on business continuity, productivity, and your go-to-market strategies. Is the organization ready? This is super critical. Working with good partners, working with modern tools ensures value gets delivered while the modernization happens. And again, re-emphasizing, continue to deliver value during and after the modernization process. So you focus on the capabilities that can be taken in by the organization, so you're ensuring customer success and access. At the end of the day, what's key to be able to do is to provide the real-time visibility into your development progress and test results in the end user's tool of choice. So being able to be in Codebeamer and seeing all of that there, or being able to interoperate with that information across multiple systems, is also capable with modern tools. And at the end of the day, this helps facilitate modern day value stream management practices overall. So Martin, I think we might have some questions. Let's go to that.
All right. Thank you, Mark, for this insightful presentation. And thank you all for entering your questions. But before we would jump in to answering the audience's questions, let me recommend you to check out the items in the related content section on the right side of your screen. Besides that, we also launched a poll, which is located on the left side of your screen. Please feel free to vote on that. We would like to be respectful of everyone's time, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible in the remaining time. And we will get back to you in an email if we didn't manage to answer your questions. As mentioned, today's session is being recorded, and we will share the recording with you via email after the session. All right, so let's jump into the questions. Just a second. All right. I think this is a question to you, Mark. So it says that the agile incremental approach to modernization enables a non-disruptive migration with zero downtime. How is that technically possible?
Yeah, that's a fair and good question. It's important to understand that the migration tool using OpsHub is not an export-import type of solution, nor it's not a database copy and scripting type of solution. The tool actually replays and records all of the transactions of the selected artifacts from the legacy system, what we call a source system, and moves that into the modern target system. Generally, we leverage the REST APIs of both the source and target systems, so it's fully secure, manageable, and controlled in the environment of the client's choice. This factory approach also facilitates the ability to restart a migration should there be a network or system outage, or if a requirement changes for a particular set of projects or programs overall. So that combination of being able to allow you to plan and adapt by project rollout, the technology supports the approach. And technically, leveraging the REST APIs is how it happens.
Thank you, Mark. Let's go on. The next question is also to you. It says that does the modernization tool also support migrating multiple projects to a single project? If yes, then post-migration, can bidirectional integration be kept on for such projects?
Now that's very important. This is so first and foremost, yes, the OpsHub tool can merge multiple projects into a single project, or can split single projects into multiple projects during the migration. Post-migrations usually can run a bidirectional integration for both the models, for both environments. So that allows you to have the ability to ensure value delivery and still manage cross-team, cross-project dependencies during migration and post-migration.
Thanks, Mark. We also have a question which asks that whether there's a email certification for the attendance of this webinar. I think there's none, unfortunately, for this session. We also have another question, which is, I think, going to be me. How integrated tools can support safety critical standards? Very good question. So usually these tools can support by letting you to set up custom logical containers where you can create your artifact hierarchy. In many cases, you have the option to customize your workflows and also your permissions for these items. Furthermore, you can even specify that which kind of attributes should be accessible by which kind of user role that you have in your project. And that way, you can really realize the same processes in the standards into pretty much real world practice. Okay, we have another question here to you, Mark. Can legacy tool users continue to use the tool while migration is ongoing? Or will we have to ask them to stop using the tool for some time?
Now, this is one of the, you can continue to be productive in the legacy tool while the migration to the modern tool is going on. So you can be productive in that regard. This concept of being able to support zero downtime or full productivity during the migration is one of the attributes of what the OpsHub migration solution and integration solution can provide. So the migration will migrate any of the new changes that were done by the users in the legacy source tool during the migration, so the customer can validate those net changes, what we call delta sync, at the end of the process, so they have full validation and confirmation of the migration.
Thanks, Mark. The next question is to me. It says, you mentioned reuse capabilities during your presentation. How reuse realized in these integrated QA tools? That's a good question as well. So reuse is a hot topic in the ALM world right now. So there are multiple ways to achieve this and multiple levels to it. So it can go from the simple possibility of utilizing, let's say, the same test step or the pre and the post action in a newly created test case. So you would reuse your previously created ones, and then you can save time with it. Further on, it could be there could be a possibility to take over complete requirement structures when, let's say, when a new variant is about to be developed or forked from the main branch, let's say. And besides that, there usually is an option to spice it up with, let's say, with baseline selection capabilities, where you can select the exact variant of your work items that you would like to start with and develop your new, let's say, variant that you're working on. So there are multiple ways and multiple levels to it in these integrated tools. All right, let's take a look at the questions. That's a question to you, Mark. So what do you see as the customer's responsibility during a migration phase of a modernization initiative?
Yeah, this is when we get into the specifics of the migration and modernization effort. It's important that the customers, first and foremost, have a good understanding, I'll call it, of the use case of what needs to get migrated from the legacy system to the modern system. You know, working with Intland and the Codebeamer team, you'll have help with that. Understanding the important processes and procedures in your legacy environment, how that'll apply in the modern model is key. So just understanding your business flows, your business outcomes is critical. And as far as efforts specifically associated with those systems, having the right people, the subject matter experts who understand how the legacy system is configured, or understand how the modern system is configured, so we can get questions answered in a timely basis, is very helpful.
All right, actually that was the last question. So we have arrived at the end of our session. If there are any additional questions we were not able to get to, please email them to contact@intland.com and we will respond to you as fast as we can. Thank you so much once again for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed the webinar and found it interesting. Feel free to reach out to us with any further questions or queries on intland.com. And also make sure you subscribe to our webinar newsletter or visit our upcoming events page to stay up to date with our upcoming live webinars all year round. Wishing you a successful rest of the week and hope to see you again soon. Thanks, Mark. Bye, everyone.